Hey everybody, I am back with a new Christmas movie review, and this one's a Hallmark film. You know, I had to make sure I throw in at least a few Hallmark related content in my Christmas movie reviews because there's a few of them I check out that I pick one that seems, or at least I pick a few that seems kind of interesting that isn't totally cliche. Sometimes they are, but at least enough of it where it's like, okay, this actually is competently, uh, well, for the lack of a better word, competently written. Still has the, Hallmark Christmas movie cliches, but not into the insane degree like you expect them to. There is like some substance to this. So this one is technically a sequel. I didn't watch the first one because these are basically like a gimmick based off of a 80s classic Three Men and a Baby. Uh if you remember that movie, as a matter of fact, it'd be fun to revisit that movie, as a matter of fact, that will be a great Father's Day type of film. I mean, sorry, it'll take about a moment because that's actually, I was like looking for more Father's Day related content, but it's like, God, dog, I completely forgot about that. All right. Anyway, before I continue, please do me a huge favor and follow me in the links in the description below. If you want to further support the channel, please check out my Patreon. Uh, if you want to put in a certain request or check out new content I have on the Patreon, the links are in the description below. Anyway, like I said, this is this is based off the Three Men and a Baby situation. Didn't find the first one all that interesting, but I thought the second one, kind of piqued my interest, so I checked it out, and I thought, oh wow, I'll actually put this on as a review. So, uh, Three Wiser Men and a Boy is directed by Terry Ingram and stars uh, Tyler uh, uh, Tyler Haynes as Taylor, Andrew Walker as Luke, Paul Campbell as Stephen, Miles Mathier as Thomas, Margaret Collin as Barbara. Uh, now, Taylor, Stephen, and Luke are brothers, and Barbara is their mom. Thomas is the adopted son of Luke, who, like in the first one, apparently adopted him while he was a baby. Now, these three men, have their own respective jobs. Uh, Luke is a fire chief. Uh, Stefan is like an author, and Taylor is some kind of game designer. And they all go through their separate, personal hangups. Like Luke is trying to balance life as a fire chief, but he's like always on daddy duty, pretty much. And uh, Taylor is like that cool brother who's like that bad boy rebel kind of dude. But his he's being, if he doesn't he made this game that he doesn't want to sell, uh, but he's also kind of losing like his position at the company. And then Stefan, wrote a book about personal anxiety and how to overcome it. And he's doing these press tours that make it seem like a joke, but he still hasn't like fully got over that personal insecurity. So they pretty much make their way. Well, Luke is forgot that he's in charge of baking like Christmas cookies for Thomas's school, and he's part of this Christmas play. So he got his brothers to come. Well, he wanted one of the brothers to do it, but he said he was busy. But I guess he wasn't so busy. But both brothers ended up showing up. Taylor is trying to hit on the piano. She's not a piano teacher or music teacher. She's just stepping in to help with this play. This hot chick who's pretty much got the same kind of personal characteristics that's gels very well with Taylor, that he immediately starts hitting on. And mishaps ensues, and one of the brothers knocks over a bunch of the Christmas displays in the room where the kids are practicing, and it causes catastrophe where this uptight musical instructor who's instructing this play gets all like, I have never I start on Broadway. I'm not will put up with that attitude. So he storms off just when the father eventually shows up. So now like the play is like, in disarray. So now, the school is trying to find a way to replace the teacher or the director, I should say. 1 second. When the three men come to visit and spend time with their mother for the holidays, because she had a surprise for them. And she introduces her new beau, this, local minister. What's the guy's name? What is that guy? Oh, Roy. Played by Christopher Shire. Now, of course, this is like a particular, how you say, hey, Snoop, how you doing, man? Yeah, because it's your typical thing, like, not just with Hallmark Christmas films or just, these rom-coms. You see every once in a while, there's like tons of 80s and 90s films regarding, children coming home and the mom or the dad got a new, boyfriend or girlfriend, and the adult children or children in general are feeling some type of way about it. Thanks for the follow, man. And now the boys, they get kind of territorial because I guess their biological dad, probably passed away a long time ago, and the mom's been like raising these, children for a very long time on her own. But the boys, trying to be magnanimous and gracious, but personally they're like, who the hell is this dude coming into our house, blah blah blah. I mean, like, anybody who ever dealt with like a step parent before, I personally have. And of course, I remember as a young kid, like my preteens, where my dad, got into a relationship and eventually married, then decades later eventually divorced, but eventually married this woman who I like. Who is this woman? I'm not, I wasn't like these guys here where they seem like very uptight about it, but I understand the feeling, like just stranger intruding, because like rocking the boat kind of situation. So don't know if you guys ever dealt with a step parent essentially, or one of your mom or your dad dating somebody new. Don't know if you ever felt that kind of way, but you could understand where these boys come from. But being adults, they're trying to be adult about this, but they really are not going out their way to include this guy, even though, and I'm kind of glad the story didn't go this way. He's actually a pretty nice guy. He's very handy, and he's cordial with everybody. Plus, he's a minister, so you expect him to. And I'm so glad the writers didn't. This is why I chose this, because when I pick Hallmark Christmas movies to review for December, I pick the ones that ain't, overdoing it a bit. And I say this because any other, or at least Hallmark Christmas films or rom-coms in the past could easily had written this guy to be just like a easy bad guy. There are actually no bad guys in this. I am so happy with that. Most films don't require a bad guy. I remember reviewing the first Frozen film, I think last year, and I made a point to talk about how, like, that movie did not need a bad guy. Everything was working so well that didn't really require that, Prince to just flip a switch and all of a sudden be like a villain. He can just had been like a decent guy, but come to understand, just like Anna, that we actually didn't have any kind of any connectivity. It was like a fleeting moment, and it could have just left it at that, where they didn't end up together because they realized it was a spur of the moment. They don't have anything in common, so they go their separate ways. They didn't need him to be like a complete, D-bag. And I feel Frozen was well suited for something like that. Here, I feel, this is exactly how I feel. Like, they did not go the route to making this minister a minister of all people. They didn't debase themselves by writing him to be like a bad guy or some type of antagonist. Well, I think it's partially why they wrote him as like a minister, so it could be like an easy way to understand. Like, no, they will never write a minister of all people to be like a easy, like a villain. It'd be kind of interesting, but he's not a douche or anything like that. He's like a genuine dude. So the three guys ends up getting called into essentially the principal's office, and they, like they're legit in trouble with the principal. I like the way the scene kind of plays out, where like the guys are just sitting on the couch, scrunched together, uh, being kind of like chastised by the principal, who was their principal and just never retired. I thought that was pretty funny, but at the same time, I'm like, there's no other seats in this room, and on top of that, y'all grown men now. Sure, you by the time when he was your principal, I guess you can't help but like kind of revert. Like you meet up with like an old teacher, you can't like as you got older and you bump into one of your old teachers or something, you can't help but your mind revert back to that childlike state a bit, because you always saw them for the longest time as a symbol of authority. So your body kind of just regressed back to those early childhood phase. But it's like, y'all grown men, like, and you getting like lectured by this dude who's pretty much like a grump, if I may be so bold. I would like, because understandably, at least two of the brothers are responsible for the guy the guy kind of overreacted anyway. He's very snooty, but they were partially responsible for him quitting, I guess. But he quit after just some stuff being knocked down. It's like they didn't set that up properly. If I now going over it in my mind, it's like this dude was gonna snap and quit regardless. Apparently, I kind of wish it was like some what would have been, because it seems like he quit too easily. That's like, it would have been fine if there was steps leading up to this, like this was the last straw kind of situation. But it just seems like too fast. I would have written it like, if those things start like falling down, something fell on top of him and he had like a bit of a injury where he gotta be laid up in bed, so somebody had to take over, then it'd been more digestible, rather than him just quitting just on a whim because some stuff got knocked over. And it just seems too fast. And another thing, like I said, the principal shouldn't be lecturing. Like, these are grown men, and one of them was a fire chief, for Christ's sake. It's like, you show them some doggone respect. But that's when the principal said like, oh, don't worry, I got somebody to assist you guys. And in comes the minister. And here's another thing. I think it's kind of way too convenient. And this is like a Hallmark type of rom-com, mind you. Well, it's not typically a rom-com per se. It's more so like a family dynamic. And it seems that, okay, he's the minister of this relatively small town. He's not like a traditional small town. But it's way too convenient for him to be like the only one that can help. There's no anybody else. It's like you're forcing this guy to be in these guys' presence, where it didn't really, the story didn't fit in my mind to allow them to actually have to interact with this guy. But he is, which kind of gets on the boys' nerves, because they're trying to do their best to just try to stay out of this guy's way and see him as less as possible without trying to be mean about it. So, the boys are now in charge of arranging this play to, to practice with these kids and make sure the play still goes off without a hitch. Like I said, each one of these guys going through their own thing. Taylor's trying to hit on this piano instructor for this play, or at least like the piano player for this play. And and Luke's trying to make sure he's like balance everything he wants to be involved with the this charity event and all this other stuff at the that the firehouse is trying to organize like they do every year. But these two other higher ups that works closely to him are pretty much like handling the situation, which he's kind of not put off, but it's kind of feeling bad because he's always been involved. But I'm thinking to myself, like, say something to these guys, like, hey, like like I'm the one to handle these things, like I can do this, or at least have some type of dialogue with these guys, because like clearly you want to be involved in these kind of charities like you do every year, but they can just say like, look, boss, I know you want to be involved and get things in order, but your mind is kind of divided. Let us take the weight off of you. But mind you, this ain't the type of movie where it's like people can have easy dialogue right up, early on, because that kind of defeats the point of having drama. And then like I think if I had to say like the weakest link in terms of storylines, it has to be like the brother who's like the author. It's like him just, I guess, trying to find some kind of self-confidence or what have you or whatever. But I do like their interactions with Thomas, and they bestow their own share. That's why it's called Three Wiser Men. They bestow some level of wisdom upon the boy of their experience, just because like a young kid, especially a young boy, do need father figures in their life, and so important. And this movie does a great job in showing that, where he has 3 positive male influences, 4 if we count the minister, to help this boy, establish some type of foundation that helps he'll cultivate and grow as he gets older and becomes an upstanding citizen down the line. And I thought that was handled very, very well. Like as they're trying to help these kids, with their practice and everything like that, some of the kids end up quitting because I guess the parents don't like the idea of whatever, the replacement teachers, whatever. It was kind of dumb. But it's kind of, I guess, personally, I think it's because of budget. It's like, okay, we can't afford to have so many kids on there, so we got to cut, like the people in half. But they try to compensate for this by giving everybody extra lines, but they realize they have to pull back because they're kids. They can't remember all their lines. But after talking with Thomas, and then realize how scared he is, and he got teased by other kids, especially one of the girls who actually is like a really, really good singer. At first I'm thinking like, this can't be her, because it sounds like a grown woman was dubbed over this little girl's voice. I'm not sure if this is legit, this girl actually singing, because it seems like a grown woman's voice coming out of her mouth. But it might be her. But she seems like she's come across like not like a bully, but just like some very pretentious, like, diva, but she doesn't stick around, thank God. But now, because they're very protective of the boy, they see like, okay, we got to make sure this play goes off perfectly, because dealing with their own personal insecurities, especially the Arthur, Stephen, he realized, okay, kids can be cruel, and things, because recalling back to our childhood and things screw up, it's hard for you to live it down, and that kind of stuff stick with you for a long time. And it's like, okay, we cannot let this happen to Thomas. We got to make sure this like a happy memory. We got to make sure like he looks back on it fondly, so that way we can, because understandably you don't want your kid to go through life with being teased or struggling so much, because especially at this age, something happens that is negative, that always sticks with them. But they got to realize they can't avoid that kind of thing, because things tend to happen. As much as you try, you can't protect the kid from everything. But they're arranging like, okay, who's gonna play what kind of decorations gonna have on the stage. It has to be at this school, and everything will be decorated to the nines. And and of course, Roy is trying to impart his like suggestions and advice, but they really ain't trying to listen. Then they decide, okay, we'll ask this guy who we used to know back in school to help set up the production of the play. And at a certain point, he's pretty much taken over altogether. Then, because he left some kind of saw or soldering iron or something like that on, and it caused some small fire, the boys end up not only blaming Roy, because he was supposed to be like, he was asked to take care of that since he's supposed to be the handyman, but it is never clear if he actually left that there on accident or he just never done it yet. But somebody left it there. They never really resolved that matter. Now I'm thinking about it. But they end up blaming him. But then, of course, Luke loses his temper on his brother Taylor, who he thinks like, he doesn't take anything seriously. And of course, the brothers end up, getting into an argument, because now they think like the play is ruined, and they can't find no new locale, especially so close to Christmas Eve. So they get chastised by their mom later on, saying, "What was going to come, that look, I took care of you guys for the longest time, but I think I deserve a life of my own. I deserve love, blah, 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 blah." The boys, take that in. You think, grown as they are, they should know that their mom is going to eventually have a boyfriend, or at least mess around a little bit, because she doesn't have to look after nobody anymore. So the boys had a heart-to-heart, Luke and his hang-ups about balancing work and family life, and then the Steven's talking about how he's wrote a book about insecurities, but he's still dealing with it. And then Taylor saying like he feel like he's dragging behind, because he doesn't seem like he got everything together himself like his brothers. But they reconcile, let them know like, hey, like we will be with, we'll back each other up, so none of us will be left alone. And I like this. This probably made me laugh out loud, where the guy who's supposed to have been like, not directing, but help with fixing everything up for the play, for the stage, he just shows up out of the freaking blue. Don't know where he's at, and then he was just standing there until his cue came on. But he's like, he says something that was funny, but it's basically like, you guys done with your sewing circle? Come on, let's get this show on the road, blah, blah, blah. I was like, have you been standing on the side waiting for them to finish talking? How you know they even finished talking? And how you know what they were discussing where you made that comment? It's very weird, but the timing of it was very funny. So they talk with Roy, apologize. They end up finding like a new venue. Uh, 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 Taylor and the piano player lady, they hook up, and Luke decides like, like I want spend some time, being like a father. I'll eventually come back, as a fire chief, but I'm going to take some time away to handle things here. So, because I can't be two places at once, unfortunately. As a father, I gotta put that first. So he leaves things in capable hands for the time being, so he can concentrate on being a father. And Stefan, uh, after helping this young girl, he finds his the courage to stand on his, I won't say stand on his 2 feet, but just uh, understand he will always have insecurities, but he doesn't let that define him, whatever. So the play goes off without a hitch. It goes well, and they celebrate Christmas. That's the end of the movie. Uh, it was fun. Like I said, the cliches isn't like abhorrent. There's a few that's still there, but I think the writers and the directors properly uh, minimized the cliches and told like a very cohesive story. And yeah, despite my few hiccups with it, I thought it was a very serviceable Christmas Hallmark film. So yeah, whenever you get a chance, I highly recommend checking it out. But yeah, in a few minutes I'll be reviewing Home Alone 3. I already reviewed Home Alone 1 and 2 on the channel in the past. Don't know if I did last year or the year before for December, but it's up on my YouTube channel, so you can check that out and hear my thoughts on those films. But now I am going to review Home Alone 3 because I haven't seen that in years. But it's fun to revisit and talk about it. So I will see you guys in a few minutes. Thank you for stopping by, and hopefully I'll see you all later on. But yeah, I'll see y'all later. Peace.